We've got Simon and Griff, guys. Hi, well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to AUT Millennium. Been fantastic to go around here and meet some of High Performance New Zealand sports and athletes. And as you can see, incredibly inspiring place and a fantastic facility for our best athletes to drive into more excellence and to celebrate their excellence as well. So it's been wonderful to be here. With that, happy to take your questions. Yes, sir. Well, look, I mean, we've had to wait 3 weeks for the results and the vote to be counted. We've got 570,000 votes that we are waiting to be respected and counted tomorrow. And we really, we don't quite know what that result will finally be, but we're keen to get that clarity so that we know exactly where we are and can move with great pace to put a government together.
What are your plans for tomorrow evening?
Tomorrow evening? I haven't thought about that, mate, at this point. I'll just be digesting the results that come through to us at 2 o'clock as they're released to everybody and making sure we understand where everything's at. We've got a number of MPs that have won on the night that are in close races either way, and so we'll be watching out for them as well.
So when you say you're working at pace, when do you think action will start?
Well, look, I mean, we really needed to do 3 things in this period. The first is to make sure that we get the vote counted, which will happen at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We need to make sure also that we are progressing the relationships, but also some of the arrangements with the respective parties that I talked about that we would work with. And then importantly, we've had a good transition arrangement set up in place with the incoming and outgoing government. And so that's been important. But as soon as we get the result, we'll have a bit more clarity and we'll look to progress our arrangements as quickly as we can. But I can't, unfortunately, give you a time frame around that. Rest assured that all party leaders are very, very focused on moving through the process as quickly as we can.
And I just ask, where will you be when the results are announced?
I'll be in Wellington tomorrow. Yeah. Well, I can't give you a date because obviously we're waiting for the vote to be counted. That only comes out tomorrow. It's incredibly frustrating for everybody, as you could imagine. It's sort of like hurry up and wait is the phase that I've described the last 3 weeks to be in. That's why I would like the Electoral Commission to actually process special votes in a much quicker way going forward if possible. But the bottom line is we get clarity tomorrow, and we have a fifth of our votes still not counted and not available to us to know exactly where we sit post-election night. So once we have those results in place, as I said, I've been using the time very, very constructively, professionally, working with the different parties on how we build those relationships, how we actually get into some of the discussions that we need to have, and we'll look to move through and lock up agreements afterwards.
Can you give a guarantee that something like the tax policy will actually make it through those negotiations? Because you're not going to just be a national government, you're going to work with New Zealand first, perhaps?
Look, I mean, as I've said before, I'm not going to really get into the detail of what we're discussing on those coalition arrangements and conversations, but we are very, very committed to delivering tax relief for low and middle income earners, exactly as we talked about in the campaign, and so that's a major priority and a major focus for us. Look, I'm just not going to get into that. I can't speculate what the results are for tomorrow. All I can tell you is that we have been progressing conversations with respective parties in the order, as I talked about during the campaign, and they've been positive, they've been constructive. There is a real intentionality and a desire by all leaders to move through the process as quickly as we possibly can. Obviously, we need clarity to emerge, and that's what happens tomorrow. And we've tried to use the time so that we can keep moving with pace through the process. Again, there's a lot of dynamics at play in the special votes, in terms of the number of people, travelling, in terms of actually people that were outside their electorate voting on the day, those that had advance votes, those that were actually overseas voters. There's a number of dynamics at play, and so we won't know till tomorrow as to sort of exactly where things sit. Traditionally, the National Party's always done slightly worse after the special vote than what it did on the night, but who knows? We're going to look at the results tomorrow. I think there's going to be a number of things we probably want to digest after the wash-up of any election campaign. There's quite a solid review that takes place, and I think there are some really good questions for us to be asking, like, does it really need to take 3 weeks to count the special votes? If we're actually working 24/7 and on something that's very important to our democracy, which is getting a robust, accurate vote count as quickly as possible, that's one of the things. I think the second thing is, as the count happens after election night, is should daily results results be released, for example. And the third thing that I've thought a lot about is actually, in order for an electoral commission to do a general election every 3 years, is there value in maybe them also doing the local government elections across the country the year before, so they actually build the training up with their respective volunteers and people that support them through those elections. So, there's a number of questions that I have, and I'm sure other party leaders will have input into that as well. Sorry? Well, historically, after every election, there's quite a comprehensive review. All parties get to input into that, and we look to improve each election and each process. And I think, again, we should be very proud of our democracy in New Zealand. It's a real privilege, and we have we've done a fantastic job over many years. But there's lessons to come out of this election experience as well, and we want to make sure we build that into the process going forward. Sorry. Yeah, he was talking about what happens in Western Australia. What we're focused on is gang patches, as you well know. We already banned gang patches in public buildings, and all we're doing is an extension into public places. And so the police will enforce that. We see those practices happen in Western Australia, I think in Queensland as well, and they've worked with great effect. So the message very clearly is we are going to be tough on gangs. I make no apologies about that. I appreciate people may have different views about that, but the reality is we need to restore law and order. We need to restore personal responsibilities. Gangs want the rights of being Kiwis, but not prepared to take the responsibilities. Look, I'm focused on removing gang patches because Kiwis understand what that means. That's about intimidation, and for someone to have earned a patch, there's some stuff that needs to have happened, and that's not something we support.
What legal advice?
Sorry?
The Michael Mob is seeking legal advice on whether or not that breaches bill of rights. The presidential says that it does. What is your response?
Well, look, it's lovely that they want to engage in that process. I just asked them to look at the other side of the equation, which is they have rights as New Zealanders, they also have responsibilities. And when you're peddling drugs across our families and across our kids across this country, when there's a 70% growth in gangs membership, when there's a 33% growth in violent crime, a massive amount of illegal guns associated with gangs, my message is really clear. I'm sorry, it's going to be tough to be a gang member in New Zealand under a national-led government. Yeah.
The Free Speech Union too.
Sorry? Oh, look, I'm not getting into that. As I've said from the election night, I want to do this in a different way. I'm working very constructively with different political parties and their leadership, and we're working our way through the process in a confidential, constructive and positive way.
And those key seats, like, key seats, but the ones that unexpectedly put away, like the other doing things, have you, do you have any sense from, your scrutineers or anything like that about whether you're likely to hold on? What would be your expectations?
No, I don't. Obviously, the information comes through to us tomorrow, and that's really what we're focused on. But what I can tell you is that we worked incredibly hard during the campaign. If you worked out where we were spending our time, we were spending a lot of our time in marginal seats. If you look at places even like Mangere and Manurewa and New Lynn, that were strong Labour strongholds, we had great candidates who were very well organised, and we took tens of thousands of party votes out of those places, and so that was our focus. So it's not, we were, I appreciate in the media you might have been more surprised than we were, but we were very focused on making sure we could hear what New Zealanders were saying. We knew the issues that we needed to talk to them about, and they had resonance across red and blue seats. Sorry.
There is a bill to change the Marine and Coastal Area Act as a result of the recent Court of Appeal decision. Is that something you'll look at in review of changing the law?
Look, once we form a government, once we appoint a ministry, there's a number of things that we'll look into, and I'm sure that'll be one of those things too.
Do you have any concerns about how courts are interpreting when it comes to customary rights and titles?
I think that will be a topic of conversation in a future government, in our government. Yep. Look, I mean, as I've talked about since I came to politics 3 years ago, is that we want more diversity in the National Party. As a leader of the National Party, we've worked incredibly hard at that over the last 2 years, but there's always more to do. And so, I'll be appointing people on their talent and on their performance, but also with a view that actually, yes, we want to make sure we get representing as many New Zealanders as possible. Well, I'll be making it as diverse as I can, but I'll also be making it about high performance, because what this country needs right now is action, and I want people who are capable of getting our agenda away so they improve outcomes for everyday New Zealanders, and that's what it's about.
Are you satisfied at the current level of migration?
Look, I mean, we're in a difficult place, and Erica can probably talk to it even with more detail, but essentially, with COVID, there's been a massive catch-up, as you well know, at getting through that bubble of having shut the country down. So I suspect that the current levels we're seeing are not sustainable going forward, but the reality is, we've had a number of worker shortages, and we've needed to open the country up to immigration, but there has been quite a flood, and part of that is really the catch-up post-COVID.
Do you have any concerns about that putting the pressure on house prices and job workers?
Well, look, again, that's something that we're very focused on. We want to make sure our immigration is very strongly linked to our economic agenda, and we need to make sure that our infrastructure supports that level of immigration as well.
Will you be getting along to the subcom for immigration that's going on today?
Yeah, I would love to go to the forum. I think it's a really important forum. There's a number of issues there, and we have great relationships with partner countries in the Pacific Islands that we need to continue to deepen and build our relationships with. But I think the reality is, with the final results coming through only tomorrow, that I won't be able to leave on Wednesday morning, because my priority is to form a government. And so what we will do is we will send Jerry Brownlee, who will be accompanied by Carmel Sepuloni, who will lead the efforts for New Zealand, with a incoming government representative, which would be Jerry Brownlee in this case, with his experience in foreign affairs. I think that's entirely appropriate.
What about APEC? Would you go on San Francisco?
Well, again, I would like to go to that, and I really would like to go to that, because I think there's a huge opportunity for us to, build our relationships with world leaders there. But again, I am beholden to the system. New Zealanders have voted for an MMP system. They deliver a result on election night. It takes 3 weeks to capture all the votes, and then we have to have a coalition conversations and negotiations and finalisations of our arrangements. So we'll be working incredibly hard and fast as we can to make sure we've got strong, stable government. That'll be my priority, but I would love to go to APEC for sure.
I know you can't give details on dates. Is there a date where you would say that you've got to draw the line? It's taking too long?
Oh, look, I'm very confident in my conversations over the last couple of weeks that actually all party leaders understand the urgency. And let's be clear, I mean, we're moving with tremendous urgency. We're only getting the result counted and final result made available to us tomorrow. And so, we've been ahead of the curve. We've been trying to make sure that we can, deal with issues and have conversations about things that we need to do so. And we'll move through very quickly.
We have a kind of a longer strategy official period, I think, and New Zealand will go from
No, look, I'm telling you, we are ready to go, and we want to get this sorted as quickly as possible so that we can get into the work that we all want to get into. We came here to do public service. We came here to fix things for people. We came here to solve problems, and that's what we're here to do. So I got to tell you, we're ready to go. Yeah. Yes. Under
the Reading sediments,
right.
Which has been supposed to be one of the large earthquake problems. Do you think it is acceptable for Wellington taxpayers and ratepayers, when they're given cost of living, for the council to be giving essentially a corporate welfare to a foreign company at this time?
Again, as Prime Minister-elect of New Zealand, I think that's an issue you've got to direct to the Mayor of Wellington and to the Council. That's their issue. The good people of Wellington have voted for them as their representatives on issues like that, and that's an issue for them. Yep.
Now, this email comparing the attack on Israel to the Holocaust, is this an example of early ill-discipline?
No, not at all. There's strong emotions. This is a really serious and tragic set of circumstances that we're all observing in the Middle East, and there's strong emotions on all sides of that conversation. What is consistent is New Zealand's position, which is that we absolutely, condemn the attacks from Hamas. They were terrorists. They were barbaric. The use of, human shields, the use of attacks on civilians, the taking of hostages, utterly, totally unacceptable and condemned outright by New Zealand. And I would just encourage you go look at the UN ambassadors, from New Zealand ambassador to the UN's speech just recently, accompanying our statement of support for humanitarian assistance. So we condemn the attacks by Hamas. We support Israel's right to defend itself, but we want all parties, both sides, to act in full accordance with their international law and their humanitarian obligations. And importantly, sorry? Yes, and I think the reality is, I said, there's strong emotions on all sides of that debate across New Zealand. I also have huge sympathy at the moment for both Muslim and Jewish communities within New Zealand, and I want to make sure that it's a difficult time for them as well. So I want us to be able to, I know it's an emotive time, there are strong positions and strong opinions on all sides of it, but the position's really clear. We condemn Hamas for its attacks on Israel. We support Israel's right to defend itself. We expect all parties to act in their obligations under international law. We really want to make sure that there is a humanitarian humanitarian truce so that we can get urgently needed humanitarian assistance into Gaza, and we have signed up to that statement, as you saw on the weekend, in the UN. But importantly, no military action is actually going to deliver peace in the Middle East. It's actually going to be restarting the Middle East peace process and driving towards that two-state solution. Sorry, yes.
We have seen these people in the past drag out the policies and hold on to the government. Is that something you can guarantee
Well, just in my own conversations and certainly by his own public remarks, I think you're seeing that there's huge intention from all of us to move as quickly as we can. You have to understand, the New Zealand people are never wrong. They deliver a result on election night. It takes 3 weeks to get the final result delivered, which we're only going to receive tomorrow. And then we have to go to work in forming a coalition under our MMP environment. And so I know it's a frustrating time as people wait, but we're doing everything we possibly can. I can tell you there's good intention from everybody involved to move through this as quickly as possible, knowing that New Zealand has some real challenges ahead of it. We have some real challenges in an economic sense. We have some real challenges in a law and order sense, health and education. And so we've got to go to work on those issues as quickly as we can. Again, I won't get into our individual conversations, but you've heard his own public remarks about that as well. Okay, can I say, guys, thank you so much for coming out, and feel free to do a lap if you want. And Kim's going to do a quick 40-metre sprint now, and we'll analyse his biomechanics. Yeah. All right, take care. See ya. Bye-bye.